That was obviously preseason football. Did you see how sloppy that was? What is going on, everyone? The Philadelphia Eagles fall in the first preseason game. It wasn't pretty, let's be real. But before we dive into this game, I want to let you know that you can use SeatGeek to purchase tickets for any event, any game, and use the promo code BROADS for $20 off of your purchase. Let's dive into the football game. There were some takeaways, some good, some bad, and sadly, the biggest takeaway of this football game is bad. And it's our backup quarterback. It's Nate Sudfeld. He broke his wrist. He broke his wrist. You could see it instantly in the replay. You can tell by his reaction. He grabbed it. He's going to have surgery tomorrow. But Doug Peterson said, we're rocking and rolling with these guys. He made it seem as if we're not going out to look for that backup quarterback role. We're rocking and rolling with Cody Kessler, with Thorson. And just wait till I get to what Clayton Thorson did today. Doug Peterson claimed that this is not season ending for Nate Sudfeld. As for Nate Sudfeld's day, not that it really matters because he's going to be out for so long. He went 10 of 18. 177 yards, and he had that beautiful bomb to Michel, the 75-yard touchdown, and that was a great throw. It was also a great play by Michel, who's coming into training camp really battling for a spot. He's Sony Michel's brother, the running back from the New England Patriots. He torched their corner, their legitimate corner. That was a crazy sick play. But at the end of the day, his stats don't really mean anything because he's going to miss so long. And they've been grooming Nate Sudfeld to fill a role as backup quarterback for this football team. For years, they've been grooming him. And here's his chance as soon as Nick Foles leaves and he goes down with an injury. Now, I just want to throw this out there. What Nick Foles did was awesome. It was awesome. The city will never be the same. But I just want to let you know that backup quarterbacks, they don't do what Nick Foles did. So I'm disappointed because Nate Sudfeld was our number 2 guy. But if we had to rely on our number 2 guy, realistically, your season is over. That's how it works. Nick Foles, that story was great. I can give you 99 out of 100 scenarios where once you have to rely on your backup quarterback for a legit stretch, you don't come out on top. So if we ever have to even be in a situation where Carson Wentz is not in the game and not playing for a significant amount of time, chances are we're screwed as it is, no matter who is back there. No matter if it's Nate Sudfeld, Cody Kessler, or anybody else we bring in here. But speaking of Cody Kessler, even him, he was grabbing his hand too. He was looking at his wrists. Something's up with him as well. Let's talk about Thorson. Whew, was that ugly. And even the reports throughout all of training camp, he's been off. And obviously, first time in a big environment, the nerves were there. And I like the way Doug Peterson actually addressed that. I'm so sick of Gabe Kapler and all the crap he says after every Phillies loss. You'll lose 16-1, and Gabe Kapler will come out and say, we battled hard today. Stop lying to my face. Doug Peterson talked about Thorson and said, listen, I've been in that position before. He was nervous. We're going to look at film together. I like the way that Doug Peterson addressed it. And really, it's just because I'm that pissed off with Gabe Kapler and the way he handles the media. But yeah, Thorson was abysmal. He had wide open throws. He couldn't even set his feet. He wasn't even throwing the ball correctly, missing throws. Oh, it was bad. It was really bad out of Thorson. I hate to stick with all bad news, but I guess I'll get the bad news stuff out of the way, and then we can attack what was solid in this football game. But keep in mind, it is just the first preseason game, and I completely understand that. But for bad, I'm going to go with Josh Sweat. And it wasn't like he was bad, but he was underwhelming. We've been hearing his name fighting for that defensive end spot to be a spark plug on this football team, to grab legitimate minutes. I didn't really see anything special. He wasn't really being a factor. I'll get to who was, though, when it comes to the solid part, the good spots in this football game. But as for Josh Sweat, I didn't see enough. Here's a bad. Josh Adams. And it was funny because I thought, after a couple catches there, I thought, okay, Josh Adams, you're working on that part of your game. You're working on that element. You're going to be able to actually catch the ball. That's a huge time thing. If you know me and if you've been following this channel when it comes to Eagles talk, I love backs that have versatility. I love backs that are capable of doing multiple things. They can pick up the block. They can run through the gaps. They can go to the outside. They can catch the ball out of the backfield. I need to see versatility. I was pumped with Josh Adams. And then he did what Josh Adams does. He does a standard Josh Adams. He fumbles the football. And with where he is right now competing for a role there in that running back room, which is deep. All right, it's deep. Can't fumble there. Absolutely cannot fumble there. So that's going to cost him. Speaking of other running backs, though, Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, they got some touches, but they were going up with the second offensive line team, and you can tell. You can tell. Speaking of the offensive line, though, let's go to something good. Andre Dillard. Andre Dillard was solid. You didn't really hear his name, and guess what? When you don't hear the left tackle's name, that means you're having a good day at the office. I liked what I saw out of Andre Dillard. I would like to see more out of what he can do with the run blocking, because obviously that was a big thing when it was broken down in film, because of Washington State, he didn't really have a lot of running plays. It was a lot of passing. So his pass blocking is amazing. I want to see more out of his run blocks. But from what I see so far, I'm very intrigued, and I really like the pick. What else was good? Dallas Goedert was good. He had 3 receptions, 50 yards, and he was clearly explosive. He was clearly a difference maker out there when he was in his limited minutes. J.J. Arecega-Whiteside, actually, it's pronounced J.J. Arecega-Whiteside. That's how it is pronounced, even though it's spelled like Arecega-Whiteside. He showed me something. The first drive there, he had this play where he beat his guy and he dove out there. It was this close. He trapped it along the turf, so it didn't count as a catch. But I saw some things I really liked out of J.J. Arecega-Whiteside. That's going to take me a little bit of time to get used to. Who made some noise? I spoke about Josh Sweat not making noise, and it's Deshaun Hall. He was making plays. Like, he was legitimately loud. His game was loud, and that's what you're looking for in these moments. It's preseason game 1. You're watching these players who are competing for a spot. You don't get that much time with the starters. You're looking for players to make themselves noticeable. You're looking for players to do the little things. You're looking for players that make you realize that they're out there performing and working hard, and Hall did that 100%. He was all over the field. And speaking of someone else who I thought was all over the field, it was LJ Fort. And I know a lot of people are looking at that one touchdown pass where he got beat a little bit. It looked like there was miscommunication and actually bad coverage from other players that didn't really help him. And he was the one that got noticed the most out there. But that was a miscommunication as a whole, as a team back there. He just got a little bit shredded. But all around, take that play out of it, LJ Fort was all around the field, making plays, being an energy guy, getting in there, working his ass off. So I didn't mind what I saw from LJ Fort. Early on, I saw standard Zach Brown, and it looks like Zach Brown might be one of those game guys where he performs way better in games than he does in practice. He's just a tackling machine, so in his very limited minutes, you can see that. I mean, there's a runner going right by him, he finds a way, bang, he tackles, simple, does his job, gets him to the ground, and he moves on to the next play. And I hope that he's just one of those guys that thrives in game situations over practice, because from what we've seen in practice, it hasn't been the Zach Brown that I expected and wanted here, in the beginning when I saw the signing. Jake Elliott, he drilled a long one. He missed a short one. I mean, isn't that pretty much what you get out of Jake Elliott at this point? 55 yards, 58 yards, 65 yards, 78 yards, 83 yards. That's a no-brainer. It's an automatic. 32? Ooh, we might miss it. 38? Ooh, I don't know. 42? I don't know. That's what you're going to get out of Jake Elliott. So he missed one, and he made one. This just shows me, though, this game and seeing what happened to our quarterbacks here. You got Kessler a little banged up, and obviously you have one getting surgery and Nate Sudfeld tomorrow. It tells me that they're probably going to be a little bit even more cautious with Carson Wentz than we would have expected. But on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Eagles postgame show, I almost said the Phillies postgame show, they were talking about, listen, you can't baby him for too long. You need Carson Wentz to get back in some sort of flow. So, obviously, injuries is a big thing with Carson Wentz, but at the end of the day, like, you got to get the kid some reps. You got to get the guy some reps. He's been off of real football for quite some time now. I know it's preseason, but at some point, you're going to have to give him a little bit of something, which I do understand, but I also understand not focusing on preseason at the same time. So, who knows what is going to actually happen when it comes to Carson Wentz and his playing time. The game did die out for me a little at the end there when it was the fourth quarter and we had these plugs out there that were getting toasted constantly over and over and over again. It looked like nobody was out there even competing. It looked like nobody even wanted to compete late in that ball game, which is crazy because to me, if I'm in that situation, that's the time where you got to make your name. You got to put your last name out there in front of the coaches and give 500%. It didn't look that way. It looked like these players had no clue what they're doing. I don't know if they're not mentally checked in because they think that these players are so solid on the Eagles roster already and the roster is so deep that there's not much availability. I don't know. But what I saw out there, that was bad. That was bad. One last thing I thought was solid, though, and this was really small playing time. It was the cornerbacks. And Avonte Maddox had two really strong plays and good coverage. Now, one of them was actually caught for a first down, but it was like a 1 or 2 yard catch by the sideline. And you even saw Malcolm Jenkins tap him up after. Like, it was a solid play, solid coverage, made the tackle. They just got an extra inch there for a first down. And he also had really good coverage to force, I believe they punted off that play. After that play, they punted. But Avonte Maddox had really solid coverage there. And if it was a good throw, actually, if I remember correctly, if it was a good throw, because it was a bad throw, but if it was a good one, he potentially could have had a pick six. It was ugly. There's no denying that. There's some good things to take away from it. There's some bad things to take away from it. But with all due respect here, you do have to value it as, okay, it's the first preseason game. Things are going to take some time to develop. There's going to be players that are really trying to get into a rhythm here and getting their first experience in games at the NFL level and whatnot. So, with that being said, I want to hear your thoughts down below on these points that I made. If I missed anything that stood out to you in particular, love to hear your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.